Today, we're diving into the absolutely incredible story of Mirabai. Now, she was a 16th century princess who basically gave up everything, her kingdom, her wealth, her status, all for her faith, becoming one of India's most beloved mystic poets. And her life really makes you ask one big question.
Right? What does happen? This is the central conflict of her entire life. It's a story about power, about tradition, and about a spiritual belief so powerful she was willing to risk everything for it. So to really get a handle on her rebellion, we have to go right back to the beginning. Her childhood pretty much set her on a spiritual path that was, well, completely different from anyone else's. Okay, so Mirabai was born into the absolute highest level of society. Think Rajput royalty, a powerful warrior clan in Rajasthan. From the moment she was born, her life was all mapped out for her. Luxury, privilege, and, of course, royal duty. But here's the thing. Even as a little girl, Mirabai's heart just wasn't in it. The legend goes that when she was very young, she saw a wedding party go by, and she asked her mom, "Who's my husband going to be?" Her mother, maybe just playfully, pointed to an idol of the god Krishna and said, "He is." And from that day forward, Mirabai considered Krishna her one true divine husband. This wasn't some childhood game. It became the absolute core of her entire existence.
But it was her actual earthly marriage and the tragic death of her husband that would take this private devotion and explode it into a very, very public rebellion. So around 1516, she does what's expected of her and enters into an arranged marriage with the crown prince of Mewar. It was a huge political alliance. But just a few years later, he was killed in battle, and suddenly Mirabai was a young widow. Now, for a Rajput princess, this was a tragedy, for sure, but there was a script to follow. Mirabai, however, decided to tear that script up. And this is really the heart of the whole conflict. On one hand, you have the duties of a royal widow, live a quiet life of seclusion, mourn behind closed doors, and above all, uphold the family's honor. But what did Mirabai do? The complete opposite. She was out in public temples, singing and dancing, writing songs, and telling everyone about her boundless love for Krishna. She just threw all those rigid social rules right out the window. As you can imagine, this public display of devotion was seen as a massive insult to the royal family. And their reaction was, well, it was severe. Yeah, this wasn't just a simple family disagreement. Her in-laws saw her behavior as a huge stain on their reputation, and according to the legends, they came to a pretty dark conclusion. The only way to solve this problem was to get rid of her, permanently. What followed were these incredible, almost mythical attempts on her life that just became tests of her faith. First, they supposedly sent her a cup of poison. She drank it, and nothing happened. It had no effect on her. So then they tried sending a deadly snake hidden in a flower basket. But when she opened it up, instead of a snake, she found a little idol of Krishna. It's like every attempt to kill her just made her belief that she was being protected even stronger. So facing these constant threats to her life, Mirabai made a choice that was just unthinkable for a woman of her rank. She walked away. From everything, she gave up her title, her fortune, and the palace that had pretty much become her prison. She chose the hard life of a poor, wandering pilgrim so she could finally be free to worship however she wanted. Now, to really get how radical this was, you have to understand the bhakti movement. Bhakti was a spiritual path all about personal, unconditional, loving devotion to God. And the key idea, the most important part, was that anyone could have a direct line to the divine. It didn't matter if you were rich, poor, high caste, low caste, man or woman. For her time, this was a revolutionary concept, and Mirabai became one of its brightest lights. And it's that legacy, that idea of radical love and devotion, that has made her story feel so fresh and powerful for more than 500 years. This line, inspired by one of her poems, just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? She traded the material wealth of a palace for what she believed was the real treasure, spiritual grace and a connection to her beloved Krishna. Her impact today is just huge. She wrote hundreds of these beautiful devotional songs called bhajans, and they're still sung all across India. She's become this powerful symbol of someone who stood up to rigid social and religious rules. And her life ended with as much mystery as she lived it. The legend says that in her final moments, she was so full of devotion that she literally merged with an idol of Krishna, becoming one with the divine love she had chased her whole life. At the end of the day, Mirabai's story isn't just a history lesson. It's a timeless story about the power of your own convictions, about having the guts to defy what everyone expects of you, and about the truly radical idea that sometimes love is the most powerful form of rebellion there is.